Yo, yo, what's up? I am gonna do nothing today but play some video games. How's everyone doing? It's been a minute. I've been very busy. I've been very busy the past couple weeks. Very busy. Like, unbelievably busy. But now we have a whole Saturday to ourselves. And we're just gonna keep playing some hardcore WoW. I've really been enjoying it. Not only have we been enjoying it, but I think I figured out a way to get my command ship all set up in a way where I can. The way I like to play classic WoW is I like to watch like YouTube videos or like a movie or something, and I've seen other streamers do this, so I'm assuming it's fine. I'm also so there's only going to be like 3 viewers of this whole video, so I'm not that worried about it. But I like watching YouTube videos while I play, and I figured out a way to add the window into the game, so I can game and watch a YouTube video, and you guys can watch it with me. So hopefully I've added everything correctly, but well, we're aboard the command ship. We're doing our thing. We're playing some classic World of Warcraft. Let me enable my sound again. I turned my sound off so that I could test things. This. Oh, maybe turn on right when the music comes on. That's fire. That's fire. It's pretty fire.
This Speedmaster was introduced a little over a year ago, and I decided to add one to my collection. So, how does it hold up? I think it's the best Speedmaster you can buy, and in this video I will tell you why. This watch was introduced in January 2021, and we covered it on the Fratello website and in some videos on YouTube, talking about all the details on this new Moon watch.
All right, I'm gonna check out the sound balancing.
Our expectations of this watch were very high, but I did have some doubts about some of the details.
If I pause it and switch back, does anything happen? I don't know, I'm just testing a couple things out. Let's see. Nice. I found an RFK group. I don't know where that is, though. I have no idea where. So this is the thing with Classic WoW. I'm such a beginner. I don't know anything. I think RFK is up here somewhere, maybe. Let's see, level 33, level 33, 31, 29. I want to get over here to this flight path. Camp to Turjaro is where I need to be going. Which is closer, right? Okay. Okay.
On this watch, but I will get to that later on. I decided to buy the most basic version of this watch, in stainless steel and with a Hasselite or plexi crystal and with a closed
I don't know, I feel like the plexiglass is a mistake. Personally. I feel like if you get the Speedmaster, if you're going to spend all that money, just spend an extra 1,000 and get the Sapphire.
So comes with a bracelet that is fully brushed. The version that has a sapphire crystal also has an applied logo.
Okay, I have to figure out a way to get there without going through this town. Because that's an alliance town. I think I'll be alright if I go this way.
And a see-through caseback, and that bracelet has polished in between links. But because I already have the Moonshine Gold version from 2019, I already have a watch that shows exactly the same movement, and for me this comes closest to the original Moon watch. So therefore I picked the standard stainless steel Speedmaster with the Hasselite crystal. If I wouldn't have had the Moonshine version, I think I might have gone for the Sapphire version to have a look at that beautiful caliber 3861. The previous Moonwatch version was in production for nearly 25 years, introduced in '96. And if you want to learn about the differences between the current Moonwatch and the previous Moonwatch, we published an in-depth article on Fratello.
Oh, I mean, he maybe gets into this, but the main difference between the two are the sapphire crystal. But I think one of the biggest differences that people don't like talk about are the indices, or like the logo. On the sapphire one, the logo is like a 3D applied logo, and then on the Hasselite version, it's just the painted white. But they're both look great, but it is a difference that you can really tell, I think. All right, I think I made it around that town. I'm going to this fight point. I'm really nervous to do this dungeon, by the way. Like, I haven't done a dungeon in hardcore ever. Ever. So I feel like I'm so scared because I know I'm near Alliance territory if I'm not in it right now. So I'm just worried that there's going to be like a guard or something, because I know there's quest guys for Alliance like right down here. So we don't run into like a guard or of some kind. I'm going to keep my sprint up just in case. Just in case. Just in case. I'm only level 20. I could kill those guys. I'm not going to though. There's probably a guard there that's like level 60. We want to avoid conflict. Get to the flag point. Okay, I think we're safe now. We're just gonna sprint. Save some time.
In the description below. Now, why I think this is the best Moonwatch to buy is because it combines heritage with innovation. The design of this Speedmaster is based on the 4th generation of Speedmasters, basically the original Moonwatch as worn by Buzz Aldrin on the moon in 1969. It has the 42mm case, like the previous edition, but the dial is slightly different. The dial has a step, also called the step dial. Then there is the old type of hands, sometimes also referred to as the drop weight chronograph seconds hand, and there's the aluminum bezel inlay with the dot over 90 marker.
What's with the dot over 90? All the Speedmaster people talk about that.
Omega logo,
The dot's over 90.
where the Sapphire version has an applied Omega logo. I love the applied Omega logo, but I also have to admit that the original ones were a little bit different when it comes to shape, and that I like that one a little better. Huh. So the original one, we also
He did talk about it. Kudos.
used, for example, on the Speedmaster Speedy Tuesday in 2017 and in 2018 again with the Ultraman. Then it has a bracelet that is based on older bracelet models. At least to the one from the late 80s to the mid-90s. Also,
you're going to be playing Marvel this stream? Streaming on Twitch,
so it has an in-between link.
Boost. Yeah, I mean, I'm just...
brushed. In case of the Sapphire version, the in-between link is polished. And it has the clasp that looks like...
I'm just doing YouTube just because it's something I'm familiar with. I'll probably branch out eventually, but I don't know. it's just easier. It's just easier. Don't have to manage multiple things. YouTube's what I'm familiar with, so that's why I'm doing it. Once I get more comfortable, I'll probably branch out. But thanks, man. I will be playing Marvel Rivals at some point for sure. I've just been like in a chill vibe lately, and this is the chillest vibes you can get. Playing hardcore WoW, just kind of chilling. So that's what I'm doing. Thanks for stopping by, though, man.
Like the clasp on the Moonshine Gold one, and
where would you
on
like
the
to
one
fly
of,
to?
1969, the gold one. And this
Where
bracelet
would you like
tapers
to fly
from 20
to?
millimeters to 15 millimeters
Strike.
at the clasp, where the previous bracelet was tapering from 20 millimeters to 18 millimeters and had much bigger links. In fact, I always felt that that bracelet was more suitable for a dive watch than for the Speedmaster. I think this is a much more elegant bracelet and it's super comfortable. And last but certainly not least is the movement. Omega did a massive upgrade on the movement of the Moonwatch. Omega used caliber 861 since 1968 all the way till 1997. And in that year, they introduced the 1861, which is the predecessor of this movement, that they then used up till last year when they introduced caliber 3861. The previous Speedmaster was one of the last watches in the Omega catalog that did not use a coaxial escapement or a master chronometer certification. It was also one of the cheapest watches in the catalog. Omega decided to use the caliber 3861 in 2019 in the Apollo 11 Moonshine and in the steel version, and again in 2020 in the Silver Snoopy Award with automaton on the back side. And then they already introduced to us during a Speedy Tuesday meeting that they would update the Moonwatch as well with this caliber. So last year, caliber 3861 was finally introduced into the Moonwatch. The movement upgrade definitely adds up to the price.
I don't know. I don't feel like watching a watch video. Let's see, what do we got? Everything's watches. Learning to draw.
All right, in this sketch, I want to try to do my best to share my thoughts that I have while I'm sketching to hopefully give you some insights into the decisions that I'm making. So let's go ahead and jump right in. As you can see, I already have my preliminary sketch on paper, and I'll be using my fountain pen to ink everything. Well, at least for most of this. You see,
Ink on a
this
sketch?
is the sketch where my fountain pen finally failed on me. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but for now, I'm going to do what I normally do, and that is to start adding the primary
I gotta go to the
lines.
bathroom real quick.
Now, when I start with
I'll
a
be right back.
pre-sketch, I don't exclusively draw the primary lines first, but I do like to start with some major lines that help define the shapes of my buildings, because it helps me to work inward toward adding detail. However, the benefit of starting with a pre-sketch is that most of those primary lines have already been roughed in, which allows me to explore my drawing differently than I normally would without a pencil sketch. For example, I spent a little time drawing out this canopy here because I thought it looked interesting and fun. And you'll see me do that throughout this sketch. I'll start with the primary lines, but then I'll jump around to different elements that I find fun to draw. It's just something that helps keep me interested in a drawing. Okay, I'm going to talk about my pen really quick. I was having some issues with the flow of my ink in some previous videos, and I didn't know if it was a cartridge issue or a pen issue, so I decided to clean out my pen and replace the cartridge. The problem is, I didn't let my pen dry completely, so for a while I was drawing with a mixture of water and ink. It was actually kind of a cool effect until that water wore off, which is where this video picks up. The ink is flowing pretty smoothly now, but a little later you'll notice that the pen just gives up on me. Okay, as I continue working on the storefront, I'll go ahead and speed up the video. Back to the drawing, I want
Sorry
to
about
point
that. I'm
out
back.
that you'll
Okay,
notice
go on.
that I predominantly draw with a grip that's right in the middle of my fountain pen. Now, why do I do that? Well, for me, it's easier to draw longer, straighter lines when you work with a loose grip like this. Something else you might notice is that I'm going to be making use of the back side of my fountain pen. One of the tricks you can do when drawing with a fountain pen is to flip it upside down and draw with the back of the nib. This is going to help you get a slightly thinner line. I sometimes like to play with line weight in my sketches. However, I will admit that I don't really explore anything too exaggerated. There are several good artists out there who do a really good job mixing up line weight in their drawings, and that's a technique that I really want to work on. Now, I'm just going to play with it a little bit today. I'm not really going to push it. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I really like to jump around my drawings, and you're going to see a lot of that in this sketch. Another reason why you might see me jump around a lot is because I might get myself into an area that I'm not quite sure how I want to approach or how the lines are going to work out. So in these cases, I just move over to something else that's a little simpler to draw, and I'll work on that. And it's almost like I have to find a rhythm when I'm drawing before I can jump into the more complicated line work. Okay, in a minute, you're going to see me draw the telephone pole here. You'll
Dude,
see me
drawing
get a
with a
little
fountain
wobbly
pen
on
is
one of those
like...
lines, but I'll talk about
I guess
that
he's
in a
just
minute.
going over the lines he
But what I
already
want to address
drew.
right now is that I'm going to be drawing
that's
the
like-
vertical
that
lines
is
of my
brave.
telephone pole first, and then I'll draw the bottom curved line to connect the two. This is a deliberate decision that I'm making because in a previous video I decided to
Oh,
draw
wait,
the base of the telephone
I need to
pole
make some
first
inventory
and then draw the
space. I just
vertical
wasted my
lines connecting
sprint.
it. It turns out it was much more difficult to start at the top of the page and draw a vertical line all the way down to connect an existing line. I actually made a mistake and strayed off a little bit.
I'm just gonna sell these. I can
But
just
in
go
that
find them
video,
all
I
again.
kind of
I know I
explained
shouldn't
how
do
I would
this,
fix
but I
something
need the
like that.
space.
Now, when I draw telephone poles, I'll make sure that I'm drawing the vertical lines first and then connecting them together. And this brings up an interesting point.
I'm just gonna sell my
Becoming
leather.
better at
What is
drawing
going
is
on?
really more of an art in continuous learning. Not
Dude,
only
every
is
time I sell
practice
something
going to
online,
help
it just,
you
like,
improve, but it's
restacks.
making those mistakes and finding ways to navigate them.
Okay, what is happening?
Okay, let's talk about that wobbly line at the top of that telephone pole. If you've watched my other videos, you've heard me mention that it's okay that your lines aren't perfect. In fact, these flaws are what gives your sketch character. And by the end of this
I
sketch,
bugged
I'll
it.
guarantee you won't even notice that mistake. If you want to get technical, this is the Gestalt principle and theory, where the sum whole of my entire drawing will be perceived over any individual error. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is
Bro, what is
drawing from your
happening?
wrist
Everything's just so
versus drawing
slow.
from your
All
shoulder.
right, I hate this add-on.
And you'll
I'm
see me
removing
do
it.
both. If you think about it, the most common way to make a line is to rotate your wrist.
I just don't
as you're
think it
drawing.
adds anything. It doesn't help.
When you do that, your pen is going to follow the natural arc of your wrist, which you'll have to compensate for if you want to draw a straight line, especially if it's a long straight line. If you were to draw from the shoulder, keeping your wrist locked, then it becomes much easier to draw that long straight line. Which brings
What
me
is
to hand
happening?
position.
Why are all these things great
The
on here?
angle at which you approach a line can determine how easy or difficult that line is going to be for you to draw. And you're going to see me move my hand position around a lot. In fact, as I try to draw the sidewalk lines down here, you'll see right here that I'm trying to find the
What
correct
is
hand
happening in
placement
my
for these
game?
lines, and it takes a couple of tries to figure it out. In my opinion, the easiest way to draw a line is when you're pulling the pen toward you. Now, that's not always practical, but
Dude,
that's where hand
something-
position comes into play. I want to talk about something else to help improve your drawings that you're not going to see me do, and that is to rotate your paper. That's probably one advice that I highly recommend for beginners. You should always set yourself up to draw
guess
the
you guys can't see what's
easiest
happening, but,
line
like,
by rotating your paper to
there's
match
items
that
in
wrist
inventory that are
position or hand
gray.
angle.
But it's just like
Now,
a rotting
when
bear
I'm filming for
carcass, and
YouTube,
I'm just,
I
I
try to
can't
keep
move
my
it. I
paper
can't sell
stationary.
it. I don't know.
I
Like the
believe
add-on
that
bugged.
It's easier to watch and follow
I have no
along
idea
in a video
what happened
format,
or
but
what's
it also
happening.
does add a level of difficulty, and it's something that I normally don't do on a normal project. And speaking of hand placement,
There we go.
another thing you might have noticed is that I always
We're
have to keep my
back.
right hand on
Now
the page
things are
somewhere. For me, this just helps to
moving and
stabilize that
grooving.
paper, so I'm not moving it around when I'm drawing, but it also helps me feel connected to the drawing.
I'm trying to make as much space as possible because
Coming up here, you're going to see me move those
about to go into
markers
a
on the right
dungeon.
side out of the way, and this is because I'm getting close to the right edge of my page, and I need a place to place my right hand. And after I move those markers, if you look really close on my right hand, you might notice the ink stains after trying to fix my pen. As I mentioned earlier, when I was trying to clean out my pen, I pulled off the nib and the pen exploded on me.
you
Okay,
don't want
I want to share
That's
another.
one thing you don't want to have happen is a pen explode on you. We try to avoid that.
A technique that I like to use when I'm drawing, and that is to concentrate my detail inward toward the center of my scene. You'll notice that the storefront has a lot of detail, but As I draw these areas on the edges of my sketch, I'm going to be lighter on that detail. And I'll use lines that trail off or marks that simply imply detail, but really don't put a lot of effort into capturing that detail or capturing every line. This is just a technique to focus the eye on the important areas and establish a focal point.
Call Beth Queen.
And you'll see that when I move over into coloring that I'm going to apply the same techniques. Okay, as I start to draw out some of the detail on the edges of my scene up here,
Because
you're
I'm
gonna see
streaming,
me
can you
work
make
on
me
the
another cup of
railing.
coffee,
And
please?
as I finish drawing all the lines, you'll
Levy.
notice that it looks kind of flat. So I'm going to do a quick little trick
Didn't have
to
to
give
get
it
up.
more dimensionality, and that is I'm just going to thicken up the lines on the bottom side of the railing between each rung. And this is going to help produce that effect where those railing rungs look like they're overlapping that line. And now it looks like the railing is starting to match that perspective. Now, as I continue to draw out the detail, you'll see me use the back side of my pen again as I work my way over to the left side of the page. And I'm going to be using the same approach as I did on the right side, which is to taper off my detail as I get closer to the
Bro's
edges of my
drawing with a
page.
fountain pen, dude.
I'm also going to be making decisions on what detail I want to include and what detail I don't. For example, toward the top of the telephone pole, there is some additional metal detail that hangs off the left side that I completely skip over. The reason I decided not to draw this is that I felt it would be too distracting and too difficult to place visually. It was also out of the way, so I didn't think it'd be missed. I almost had the same thought with the pipe work that I'm drawing now. Originally, I thought the pipes were unnecessary to add, but I decided that it could add a little bit of additional interest to the edges. I'll go ahead and speed up the video as I draw out the rest of this area.
I mean, he's supposed to reveal his secrets, but really all he's talking.
Now, this is about the time
all
that my
I've
pen
seen
starts
him
to fail,
do
so
is basically put pencil markings of that shack and then go over it with a pen. We're 9 minutes into the video. We're halfway through the video.
you'll notice a rough go at times trying to put down some line work. And right here you can see that I'm no longer getting any ink. For those of you who might ask, my ink cartridge is completely full, so I knew it was something else going on with my pen, so that's when I made the decision to switch over and use a different pen, which happened to be my Pilot G2 0.5mm tip. And the reason why I continued with the different pen is that I was kind of in the zone and I didn't want to stop mid-drawing. For those of you who aren't familiar with cleaning a fountain pen, it can be quite the process. Also, one more thing I want to point out, after I complete all of the coloring, I will make
Bro's
the
using the
decision to
G2
take
pen.
another pass at my
That is what I
texture,
use
and
at
you'll see me
work.
switch over to a third
That's
type
good.
of pen, which I'll talk more about that when I get there.
Third pen. He's got pens for days
Now,
over there.
this pen that I'm drawing with has very similar lines to my fountain pen, so I'm not too worried about it looking off. I do really enjoy
If
drawing
a
with the
G2
fountain
pen does the same
and
thing
I
as a
feel
fountain
like
pen,
the ink
essentially, then why
flows
not just
a
use
lot
a G2
smoother, and
pen?
it's easier
Why,
to get a
why,
mark.
why go
However,
fountain pen? That
I
just seems like
definitely
an
feel like
extra
I have more
hassle.
control with this G2. It's a hard feeling to describe, but I encourage you to experiment with different types of pens and get a sense of how they feel and which ones you prefer.
Because the fountain pen can explode on you. The G2, I've never had a
Alright,
G2 pen
at this
explode.
point, I have all of my major detail that I want to capture in my sketch. Well, at least I think I do, but more on that later. And now I'm going to switch over to start to take my first pass at texture.
Uh-oh.
In this case, it's really just the brick wall that I'll be focusing on. And I'm going to be doing this by drawing some evenly spaced hatch lines to suggest the brick coursework. Now I decided not to go in and add lines to suggest the individual bricks at first. I do end up doing that later, but for now I was trying to experiment with a certain style for my texture. And after I finish my coloring, you will see me go back and take another pass at the brick texture. But for now, as I wrap up my line work, I'm going to move over into coloring. Now, I wanted to try something different with my colors, and that is to start with the high contrast shadows and then move over to building up my colors. So you'll see me use the Copic black marker to add the deepest shadows first.
That's level 60.
And as I start drawing out these shadows, I will notice that there's a few areas of details that I've missed that I did want to include. So I'm going to go back and add those back in. And I'll go ahead and speed up the video as I use my G2 to finish this sketch.
All right, here we go.
Now, as I wrap up the high contrast shadows, I do want to point out that I didn't use my normal method, which is to apply all of my shadows first. I usually like to establish my values first by adding those shadows and then moving on to coloring. But I actually jumped right into the coloring and I skipped all of my mid-tone shadows. Now, the reason for this is I did want to kind of experiment with
we're in a
coloring
dungeon,
on my sketch,
baby.
and my goal was
Let's
to
turn
try
this
to
down
use
so
the
that-
Copic markers to build
Actually, you know
up
what?
those
I'm just gonna pause this for a minute so I can really focus on this. Actually, I want to see. I guess I have to. I don't know how to turn the friendly nameplates off. Who's the main target? This guy. All right. First pull is a success. I should pickpocket these mobs so that the tank can grab more aggro. Oh, that's right. Oh no. We are just moving right along. I'm like super focused right now just because it's my first hardcore dungeon ever. I don't know how fast this can just turn south. Like a dicey. That was a big pull. Big pull. We did it though. We did it. That was a very big pull. Very big pull. But we made it. Uh-oh. He's going in. A 307 crit. That's wild. There's been like a couple of pulls like that where we just pull a ton, but we're doing okay. It just scares me when I see like 5. More than 3 enemies, I get worried. Yeah, he's leveled up. We are pumping right now, man. We are just rolling through this thing. Oh, there's a stealthy guy. He's just stunned me out the gate. I'm assuming I just go after the casters. That just is the logic I'm applying for this dungeon. Like the Dustweaver, I would imagine. Or they're both these guys look like casters, but Moving right along, baby. Oh, nice. I got crit coming up. Nice crit. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, I was about to say I ran out of energy to kick that. Oh, yay. Here. I'm just going to pull the rest of this to cool it off. Here, you can take this. Love you.
Love you.
Yes. Look at us go, baby. Look at us go. All right. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to pull up
Colors
the
as best
drawing
as I
video
could,
again.
which also included potentially building up those shadows. Now, by the time I wrap up the coloring, I do feel like the image is a little flat, but now that just becomes a lesson that I've learned for future drawings. I feel like I get more out of my sketches when I put down all of my shadow tones first. If my goal is to capture a good contrast in a sketch, then starting with the shadows and defining all those values will definitely make that easier. By adding shadows first without color, it's easier to identify those areas of contrast between the surface and establish those values. However, what I'm learning for myself is when I have a color layer already down on my
so
sketch,
many
I feel
hits
like
on
it
these guys.
obscures the values and makes it more difficult for me to get the right tones. Okay, I want to now talk about some of the coloring techniques that I'm using. As you can see, I've already started to layer in additional brick color by going over the existing color.
Nice. Someone's got
One
a
of
really
the things
nice,
that I like best about alcohol
mace.
markers is the ability to layer colors and get a deeper tone with each layer. In this case, I'm using that technique to get some variation to my brick
Bro, the
texture.
guy's using highlighters now?
Additionally, you're going to see me layer multiple different colors on top of one another. I'm only working with a set of 36 markers, so I have a limited color palette, so it's necessary for me to find ways to create new colors, which I can do by layering them.
Layering colors, got it.
Now, the storefront is an example of me trying to push those colors by layering them. This is where I feel I still have a lot to learn with color blending. I stopped short of where my color needs to be because I was concerned that I would ruin my sketch if I kept trying to push it. Now, in a scenario like this, what I should have done is I should have tested my colors on a separate piece of paper and allowed myself to make that mistake and experiment with the color layering. That way, I could have worked out the combination of colors, but instead I just kept drawing and let this one be. Now, I want to talk about the shadows that you see on the right side.
Dude, this guy
of my
keeps
page.
knocking me over the moment I
Lately,
try to backstab
I have
him.
been experimenting with using a
Fine,
deep
just do
purple
back to
color
back.
for my shadows. I think it adds a lot of interest, and it kind of mimics the colors found in sunlight shadows. Now, if you paid attention, you might have seen me use a clear marker to color the surface first before I added those shadows. This clear marker just helped me to prime the surface with a layer of alcohol so that when I add my shadows, those colors will blend a little bit more into the page. I will also hit those shadows again with another pass of my clear marker. This again just helps to soften those shadows. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video as I add more coloring. I want you to pay attention as I do.
Bro
with
is
these things.
shading with highlighters.
You'll see me layer colors to
crazy.
get a new color. And you'll see me bounce around from my colors to my shadows. Again, this is not my normal process, but I wanted to experiment with approaching the sketch using a different process. I do have a full video that shows my normal process where I do layer my shadows first and then add the colors on top. Okay, coming up here, you're going to see me use a warm gray marker to add some subtle texture and variation to my storefront. Everything was looking a little flat, so I decided to layer in some more colors in certain areas, trying to capture that natural variation
Another
of
boss
the texture.
coming up.
I definitely
and
could have
I'm gonna
made
get a
this
juicy
little
crit
more
on him.
exaggerated, but I think it helps to break up the monotony. And as I start to wrap up the coloring, I will move over and do another pass at the texture, but first I want you to notice how my colors have less detail on the edges of my scene. This, again, just really helps pull that focus into the middle of my page. And I'll go ahead and speed up this video.
Nothing fancy off that guy.
Okay, you're going to see me use my clear marker again, but this time
Actually, I'm
going
worried
to use
that
it
if I
in a
put
different
this
way.
sharpening stone
Previously, I was
on
using
my
it over
dagger,
my
I won't get
shadows
the
to
Wind
help
Fury
soften
totem.
the edges, but now I'm going to be using it at the
So I'm
bottom
just
of
not
my
gonna do
scene
it.
on the road to
not gonna
push
do
the
it.
color back into the page. You can see as I keep going over the same area, the color gets lighter and lighter. I'm really laying down this clear color to push that gray through the paper, creating a washed out effect. I'm purposely leaving out areas untouched to create the illusion of the shadows of those power lines. Okay, now that I'm done with my coloring, I'm looking at the sketch and it still feels really flat to me. So I'm going to make another pass at this, but this time I'm going to be using a fine liner to add texture.
Dude, that guy's
As you
drawing
can
looks
see,
amazing.
I'm using the Copic multiliner 0.1 millimeter. This pen is waterproof and alcohol proof, so it should hold up just fine if I decided to add more colors. I'll be using a number of techniques here to add a bit of texture to the major elements in my scene, and as I do that, I want to go back to my previous comments on switching up my process with this sketch. It was between prioritizing adding shadows first versus prioritizing adding colors. In this sketch, I prioritized adding my colors first, and I feel like it made it more difficult to add good values to my sketch. So my preference is to definitely start with your shadow layers. I would recommend to use 2 or 3 different tones for your shadows and build them up one at a time. This really does help you to manage your overall values and produce an image that pops more. When you're focusing on the values first, you really can define that contrast. I know it's just my preference and there are other techniques out there, but I encourage you to use what works for you and what you feel comfortable with. But for me, I feel like when I start with the color, it tends to obscure my values, making it harder for me to balance that contrast in my scene. Okay, as I wrap up my textures, the one thing that I want to talk about with my textures is that if you pay attention, I'm not really putting down a lot of detail in every area. Most of the areas that have textures are unfinished. I'm not drawing every line, I'm just adding enough detail to imply the texture. I don't need to draw every brick. I don't need to be perfect capturing every little debris. A small grouping of dots or dashes can go a long way to implying texture for an entire surface. So as you explore adding textures, consider that less is more. I've experimented with the new process in this one, and even though I was uncertain of the outcome, I think I was able to save it using that extra layer of texture. If you haven't already, please give this video a like and subscribe. And that's it. That's my final sketch. Okay, in this video, I've put a lot of information into this, and you'll notice that I'm going to take a slightly different approach than my previous videos, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, first thing, I am using a Copic multiliner 0.2 pen.
This guy always has a different pen.
And lately I've been really enjoying working with these fine liner pens. I want to show you in this video that you don't have to be precise in order to create a great sketch. In fact, I'm going to share my thoughts throughout this so you kind of know what I'm thinking as I progress. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that pen to kind of capture the essence of my scene, and you'll notice that I'm trying to stay very loose. This is much more different than my previous videos.
Is that the main boss?
If you have watched my other videos, you'll know that I tend to work in a more rigid or a sharper process, but for this video, I really wanted to go back to the basics and kind of play around with a softer and broader feel. The line work here is going to be loose, and you can also say it maybe looks a little sloppy, but don't worry, I'll show you by the end how we clean this up and make it look really good. So anyway,
make sure I'm saving enough
this,
energy for the
similar technique
kicks.
that I have shared in a previous
I'm doing like
video.
ambush into backstab
in one
when
of
I'm at
my
0
pencil
energy.
sketch videos, I did a one-line
I
drawing.
need to make sure
Now,
I'm spacing
in that
it out.
technique, I demonstrated how to draw a quick sketch without lifting your pencil. And the trick there was to kind of look at your reference photo 90% of the time and only at your paper 10% of the time. It kind of built a good hand-eye coordination, and you would only look at your paper just to double check the positioning of your line work. Now, I'm doing a very similar technique here, but what I'm not doing is I'm
Wait,
not
did
trying
he
to
say
connect
that you
everything
look at the
in one
you don't
line.
look at your
That
paper, you look at
technique is
the
kind of good
object?
for practice, but it's not really so much good for doing the real thing. So here I am looking
interesting.
at my reference photo a lot, probably 60-70% of the time, and I am, by feel, I am trying to block out the major shapes in areas, and I will constantly check my paper
Interesting.
just to make sure that my line
So when
work
you're drawing, you
is
don't even look at
roughly
what
in
you're
the
drawing. You
correct
just look at
spot.
what you're
Now,
referencing.
one thing you also notice is that I am jumping around a lot.
Interesting.
This really
Interesting.
helps me to work quick and also to keep my proportions. I don't stay in one area too long to finish it out. I just get enough line work down just to get the right positioning, and then I move on. And I want to stress this because spending too much time in one area without getting the line work
That guy had
down
gotten away.
in the other areas of your scene can be risky. You could run the risk of having your proportions get skewed pretty quickly, or you could accidentally overload the detail in one section. But overall, the image tends not to feel balanced when you do this. Now, at this point, I have all of my loose lines down, and I am ready to move on to phase 2. And in this phase, I'll be refining all of my line work. Now, I want to point out that I chose this particular scene because it had a lot of detail, and I like to draw detail. For me, it's fun, and I wanted to include that texture and that detail in my drawing.
Shit.
So in this phase, I'm
knew
going
that
to
was
be
gonna
taking
happen.
some time to add that detail. Now, some artists will stop here and move right on to the coloring, and that's completely okay. I highly encourage you to experiment with stopping at different stages of your sketch and kind of seeing what you like. Okay, let's get back to this stage where I'm cleaning up my line work. You'll notice that I'm starting to revert here back to my normal style where everything's a little more rigid, and this is going to allow me to clean up those lines and refine anything that's slightly off. However, I'm still okay with not being precise. You'll notice that I'm going quicker than I normally would, and I am just trying to get those lines down in the general areas just to refine those areas more. Not really spending a lot of time to clean them up and making them look perfect. Now, I am looking for texture. That is one thing that is going through my mind right now, is finding the areas of texture that I can embellish. And in this case, these windows have some blinds behind them that I want to include because I think that horizontal hatch line texture will come across really well and provide some good contrast with the rest of my scene. The tip here, again, is to keep moving. I'm not going to stay in one spot for too long. I don't want to over-refine anything. I'll go through the architecture, find some interesting elements that pop out, and spend some time refining those lines. So really what I'm doing is moving around my scene and just trying to clean it up a little more. One thing I want to point out is that going through the first step of getting all of that loose line work down gives me this framework, this skeleton of a sketch in which I am able to draw within. So because all of my loose line work and proportions and perspectives have been planned out, it's much easier for me now to draw on top of this loose sketch with my more rigid, more refined lines and kind of push my sketch into something with a little more detail. I like this phase of sketching when I'm using this type of process because I don't have to be so precise about where I'm adding my lines. That skeleton sketch is doing all the work for me. So I'm just using the existing line work to help me add refinement. Okay, now I want to talk about the stonework that I'm adding here. As you can see on the bottom section of this building, I've started to add the stonework and I got a little sloppy with it. So when I start at the top, I'm gonna switch over and do a different technique. I'm gonna add some hash marks across the windows on either side, and this is just going to help me to keep that perspective and spacing a little more accurate. Now, once I've added all of my hash lines, I'm gonna go back through and connect every other one in a staggered pattern. Now, this stonework detail I thought was really interesting on this building, and I wanted to make sure to capture it. I also knew that if I rushed it, kind of like I did at the bottom, it would come out a little awkward and it wouldn't look how I wanted it to. So I did take the effort to go a little slower and make sure that I captured the essence of that stonework the second time up on the top. Now, one of the things about sketching is that it's really up to you as the artist on what detail you include and how much of that detail you want to include in your sketches. I mentioned earlier, but I highly recommend experimenting with different stages of detail. For example, commit to drawing a sketch that has low detail. Don't overwork any areas. Just try to keep moving on and progressing in your sketch. Then, as another exercise, try that exact same sketch, but this time, work in a lot more detail. By trying the same sketch multiple times at different levels of detail, you kind of start to train your eye to learn what detail works and what detail doesn't. So when you start to move on and sketch other scenes, it's almost automatic knowing what detail to include. Now, speaking of details, you'll notice that as I address the windows, I'm moving pretty quickly and not really spending a lot of time making sure that my window detail is precise and clean. I'm being very deliberate to capture only enough detail to have the illusion that the windows looked recessed. Again, this is part of the decision that I'm making for this overall sketch. I want to include some detail, but not a lot, so I'm not really spending a lot of time. I'm trying to keep moving. And that's going to play into the overall loose feel of this entire sketch. Now, as I move over to the left side of my sketch, you'll notice that I have a little bit of that same stonework pattern that I'll address. So I'll just use a similar technique to go down the side and add my hatch lines before connecting them in a staggered pattern. I'll do this for the top and bottom. And you can see now that I've incorporated that technique, I can make pretty quick work of this detail. Now, once I'm done adding the refinement, I'm going to start to focus on the texture. Now, I mentioned earlier that I really liked the textures in this photo, and I wanted to capture that in my sketch. I thought it would add interest, and I thought it would add contrast with all of the line work. And what I'm doing to add the brick texture is just a bunch of hatch lines. I'm not being very precise, but I am trying to make an effort to make sure those hatch lines do follow the perspective of my scene. That's really gonna make this look more natural and realistic. Now, I want to mention that I came into this drawing knowing that I wanted it to be detail heavy. I am intentionally looking for areas to add more detail. But this is where it becomes tricky. I have to strike a balance of adding just enough detail versus adding too much detail. Since I wanted this to be detail heavy, what's going through my mind is that I'm looking at the overall density and tones of my sketch as I'm drawing, trying to pick up where I might have gaps, and then I'm going to look for texture to fill those in. Now, I'm also trying to balance that with not adding too much density to my artwork. I'm really trying to strike a good balance of my line work density over the entirety of my sketch. Another way to say this is that if you look at my sketch, you really shouldn't be drawn to any one area. I'm really not wanting a major focal point at this stage. It will be my colors that take care of that. Now, once I finish this up, I will go back in and start to strategically add individual bricks to sell the illusion that this is a brick texture. Now, I don't need to draw every brick, and you'll see a little trick that I do in order to capture the essence of a brick texture. What I'm going to be doing is that when I get to a larger area of brick texture, I'm not going to be adding individual bricks over the entire texture. Instead, I'll be focusing a lot of those lines around the edges of that surface, just implying brick texture. By doing this, I'm able to create the illusion that the entire surface has that same brick texture. This is a nice little trick that speeds up drawing all these textures. Now, there's several reasons for this. One is that the more lines that I add to my scene, the more that I risk overloading the detail and creating areas that are too dense in texture. And this has the ability to create an eyesore in my drawing. The other reason for using this technique is that it prevents me from going through what I call detail fatigue, where you spend too much time drawing the same repetitive detail that the sketch no longer becomes fun and it just feels like a hassle to get through. Now, once I'm satisfied with all of the individual brickwork, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my markers. And this is where we'll start to add
Bro, he
coloring.
uses highlighters.
Now,
I still can't
for
believe that.
Coloring this scene, it is going to be a two-step process. And this is a process that I've kind of started to fall into over time. And I really like how it turns out. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to start with my shadow colors. And then after that, I'll move on to the actual colors. Now, with my shadows, I am going to be building up my tones. I'll be working with 3 colors, a light gray, medium gray, and a dark gray, and in that order. So that means I'm going to start with applying all of my light gray tones. One thing I want to point out is that as I am adding my light gray, I can tell that my marker is starting to go dry, so I'll probably eventually get a new one here, but it's giving me enough tone that I'm fine with. And here you can see that I missed that window, so I'm going to come back and add that window detail. Now, once I'm done with my light gray, this is where I'll switch over to my medium gray, and then basically I'm going to be going over all of the areas that I feel have a medium gray tone and the areas that I feel have the darkest dark gray tone. I know I'm going to build up my colors, so I'm going to start by adding my medium gray, and then some of the medium gray here, like this sidewall that I'm coloring right now, will get an extra layer of dark gray that would really help push that contrast. Now, windows are interesting because some windows tend to reflect light better than others, and some windows tend to basically reflect nothing but black. So you'll see me use my dark gray a lot in the windows. And then also, we'll notice that a lot of the trim around the window detail is black, and I actually kind of like that because it's going to make this scene stand out even more. So I'm making sure to hit up all of the edges of the windows and to get that contrast onto my paper. And by the time we get done with the scene, you'll notice the theme that there is going to be a lot of contrast, which makes, I think, for a much more interesting image. Now, you might have noticed that I am kind of coloring in the same style as my line work. That is to say that I am being loose. I'm not taking a lot of effort to make sure I'm covering everything. I'm letting my lines show. I'm not filling in all of the spaces, especially in the windows. This, I think, adds to the style of my line work, and it helps kind of reinforce the overall feel of the image. Now, one thing you might have noticed is that I am spending a lot of time using the medium gray color. And that is because my scene has a lot of shadows, and this is just the color that I'm using to capture the general shadow color. And also, I know that I want to capture the contrast in my scene, the contrast from all the shadows. That's one of the reasons why I felt this scene stood out to me. One of the things that I've been really working on is trying to push more contrast in my scenes. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about a trick that I've been doing that I haven't explained yet. And when I get to this window, what you're going to see me do is not fill in the entire window with the gray color. Instead, I'm going to be deliberate about making sure there's a gap between each pane. And the reason for this is that I'm using the negative space to create the illusion of a window pane. You can see that I've been doing this through the other windows in my scene. So being deliberate about taking advantage of the negative spaces can really help add to your sketch.
Interesting.
Now, I want to point out what I'm doing here. I'm focusing on looking for the shadows on the underside of my ledges and surfaces. And since this image has a lot of different varying surfaces, this is going to be a tedious task to go through and try to add those shadows, but this really will improve the overall image. Now, one thing that is going through my head is that I know I am going to come back on top of these gray tones with an even darker gray. And that's just going to help me to add some more depth to these different shaded areas. This is really going to deepen some of the shadows and give me additional dimensionality in my sketch. Now, at this point, I want to take a moment and kind of talk to you about why I'm adding shadows first. The most important reason is that I'm using this to establish my values early on. This is really going to help me see my scene as a whole, to see if it's working or not, and I can make adjustments if I need to. Now additionally, the shadows I'm adding are helping to establish form and depth in the surfaces. Again, this is going to add extra interest to my sketch, and it gives me a clue early on if my scene has enough interest. Now, once I'm satisfied with all of the medium gray tones, I'll move over to my dark gray tones. And here, I'm just trying to look at my reference photo and spot the areas that look almost pure black. And what I'll do is I'll touch those up on my scene. So a lot of those areas you'll notice are going to be either the edges of my window frame or the sides of my awning, or maybe even some of the surface of the windows themselves. But there's not really a lot of areas
never
in
done
the
this
scene
before.
that I'm going to color with the dark
They're
gray.
warding something off though. Uh-oh.
Like I said, most of it's just the edges
pig.
or undersides of surfaces.
A zombie? Is that like
And
a zombie
that little
pig?
trick, just to hit the undersides or edges of the surfaces, tends to really make those areas pop. Now, I mentioned this before, but I am trying to stay loose. I am not trying to be perfect with my markers. It's okay if I still make a mistake at this stage. These sketches are just for practice, and as you'll see, any mistake I make will most likely get lost when the sketch is viewed as a whole, so you don't need to fear your mistakes. In fact, even if you do make a big mistake,
Every
you
drawing
learn what
video
works and
I've
what
ever
doesn't.
watched
Don't
always
let it
says, don't
discourage you
fear
from
your
drawing.
mistakes. Don't be afraid of
Just move
mistakes.
forward with that new
I make a
lesson.
lot of them when I draw. Like, too many. I think a healthy fear of mistakes is a good thing in drawing sometimes.
Now it's time for me to start to add color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build color slowly, and I'm going to start with the brick wall. I have a warm gray color, W1, on the Copic sketch marker series, and I'm going to use that to put down my foundational tones on the building. Now,
Just
if you watch some of my previous videos, you'll know that I've started a color series where I'm starting to explore color. One of the things that I think I'm weak at, or more accurately, one of the things I'm wanting to improve at, is coloring, especially color theory and working on building up my colors with these markers. And in that video series, I've experimented a lot with different ways in which I can use color, and I've also made a lot of mistakes. And one of the mistakes that I've made, that I've learned from, is to go too bold too fast. So in this sketch, I'm being very deliberate about not going too bold with my colors and staying very soft and working on building those colors up. So now that I've coated my entire building with that warm gray, I'm going to use a beige color that has a lot more warmer tones to it. And you'll notice right away that I'm getting some really good coloring on this brick wall. Now, we're not quite there yet. I have a plan to continue to add more and more warmer tones until we get something that looks somewhat close to the color of that brick texture. Now at this point, I've just colored an entire page basically with my marker, so I'm going to let that marker dry while I touch up other areas of my scene. So for example, I'm going to grab that green and touch up the plants. And it doesn't take long for my marker to dry, so once that's done, I'm going to switch over and start to try to build up more color. I'm going to do that by picking a light red or a soft pink color and add it to my building. And if you look carefully, you can start to see how I'm introducing more of that red color. Now, again, after I add the first pass of that light pink color, I'm going to let that paper dry while I move on to other areas of my scene. In this case,
Dude,
I'm gonna
Mike,
hit
what's
those
up?
doors
We
with
are
deep
pumping
red.
today. I'm just playing some WoW, watching some drawing videos.
Now,
I kinda,
what I'm doing
it's a
here
rainy
is
Saturday. I just
I've
want to
noticed
chill.
a couple of areas that are too stark white, and I've decided to take my neutral gray or my light gray marker and just to get those colors a little more neutral. I've also taken the opportunity to start to fill in some of the areas with some more contrast with a darker beige color. So the sidewall here and some of the edges of the stonework, I'll add that beige color. And again, I'm just really just buying myself time while my paper dries. And as I'm doing this, I notice I have the opportunity to add some shadow detail. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my dark gray marker and just hit some extra spots that I missed before. Again, just giving it some more depth. And then you can see that I'm using that light pink or that soft red color again and going over my brick texture a second time just to add a little bit more color. Now, the one thing I like about alcohol markers is the ability to build those colors. Even applying the same color twice, you'll get a slightly darker or a slightly richer tone. So that's what I did with that salt pink color. Okay, at this point, I wanted to add even more texture to that brick wall, so I'm taking some markers and I'm going to be going over coloring individual bricks just to give that texture a little bit of variety. And you'll notice that I'm doing it with a couple of warm gray colors. I'll start with the W1 and put down an initial pass of different brick texture, which will give me a very subtle variation, and then I'll follow it up with my W4, which is a slightly darker warm gray. And that will give me some more obvious color in my brick texture, and you can see that here. Okay, we're getting close to the final step, and before we do that, I'm gonna go back with the dark gray marker and do one more pass at deepening.
I like the red doors that he did.
I feel like
And then the shadows.
the more
Looks
I
really
color
good.
areas of my scene, the more those
Did they hit with
deeper,
any major
darker
storms?
colors kind of
No.
get faded, or
I mean,
maybe
it's
the
just
more
been
that
raining
it
this morning,
dried,
but no
it
storms
just
at all.
lightened up
A couple
everything. So
thunder,
again,
but
using that
no,
technique
we
to
didn't get
build on
hit
top
bad
of
at
colors,
all.
I'm going to be using that dark gray.
I didn't even know
and
there
just
was a
going
lot of
over
storms in
some of the
the
areas
area.
of the shadows again, just to get more contrast introduced into my scene.
Bro, something
And then
about the
now when
red
I'm
doors
ready,
that
I'm
this
gonna
guy
move on
has in
to
his
my
drawings. It
final
just
step.
slaps.
And honestly, this is my favorite step. I'm going to be using a deep violet blue to go over all of the major shadows in my scene. Now, I really like this trick because it adds a richness to all of my shadows. Previously, I was using a gray color, and now when I start to use that deep blue color, I feel like those shadows come alive a lot more. And it definitely introduces a lot more interest into those shadows. I'm literally trying to find every single deep shaded area that I can to use this marker so that I can get that color into those shadows. And then you'll notice that I'll go back over some of the areas a couple of times. Again, building up the same color multiple times gives me a little bit of deeper tone, a little bit of a richer tone. I really enjoyed working on this one since it was a little bit of a departure from my normal
It's
style.
a blue
It was a
bow.
lot
I mean,
of
I
fun
don't
to
use
go back
bows
and
as rogue,
revisit a
but
style that
I can equip
normally
it,
don't do.
and it will give
I
me
hope you've
3
enjoyed
agility.
this video, and if you haven't,
is
please
huge.
give it a like and subscribe.
3 agility is massive. Alright, I'm just done that. I'm tired of that. I'm kind of over the drawing videos. What else we got? "18 men's brands robbing you blind."
This is the kind of shit that absolutely drives me crazy and makes
Drives
me
me crazy
never
too, man.
shop
It drives me crazy holding up white t-shirts like that. Drives me crazy.
at a brand ever again. All right? Here's the story. All right, so
Let's
as you
hear
guys
it.
may remember,
Dude, I actually, dude, just the way this guy's gone about the intro, I'm so excited about this story. I want to hear all about it and his 18 men's brands that are just robbing us blind.
You outsiders pay for encroaching on our land.
Oh no! I can't block it! I can't kick that ability.
My power rules here. new allies will avenge us.
I can't kick it. Got him. Ooh, that's a cool shield. Wait, I greeted, right? Greed. Yep. Must be very careful on the way back down. Jump down to do escort. Actually, let's go back.
May not remember. Really doesn't matter. I wear these.
Is this his closet? Look at that guy's closet.
I bought, like 4 of these T-shirts.
Whoa.
About 5 years ago, and the thing that
Did
I
you
loved
have to
so
do
much
that?
about them was the
Did he have to do that?
It was really lightweight. It was really soft. The fit I really enjoyed. Right, not too tight, and the collar was a little bit funky, but whatever. Right.
Did he have to
And
take
I've
his
worn
shirt
these
off like
things
that?
For like 5 years. I washed them each literally 300 times. I wear them all the time. Recently, they started to kind of fall apart, though. All right, I've had them for like 5 or 6 years, and I'm like, all right, no big deal, right? I've gotten great use out of them, and so I decided to go and buy some new ones.
Bro, you're
right?
gonna pull all 4 of these guys.
I went to All Saints, and I went and I found this T-shirt.
Yep.
It is the organic cotton. It's the slim fit. I ordered a medium, and this is what I got. It is skin tight, and the fabric absolutely sucks. And I literally can't wear it. And it got me super pissed off, honestly. Because this is kind of like one of those things that brands will do when they start, they've got a great product, it's known for, high quality, but then over time, because they're trying to make their margins and they're trying to basically squeeze every penny out of the customer, they reduce the quality, they reduce the craftsmanship, and basically they're
It's a
charging
t-shirt.
the same price. This t-shirt.
Bro, I hate when people be like, craftsmanship. It's a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt. What are we talking about? I can make a t-shirt. I could probably, if you give me a square piece of fabric, I can YouTube a video and make it myself. There is no craftsmanship in a t-shirt. What are we talking about? What is he talking about? Am I crazy? Craftsmanship in a t-shirt?
It was literally like $70, and it is a piece of shit, and I literally will never buy from All Saints again. But it's not just All Saints.
Why does he keep doing
that?
Dude, why
when
does
I
he
first
keep...
started, in men's style and shopping that I really loved, and then over time,
Why do you have to
it's just
include
gotten so bad.
the whole
price hasn't moved, or
shirt
it's even
change in the
gone
video?
up.
Why do you have to
And
do that?
I feel like I'm getting robbed. Today, guys, I want to go over some brands that honestly I will never buy again. I also, though, at the end of the video, will tell you some of my brands that I still love that I think really do a good job in terms of quality.
AKA the brands
This
that are
is
paying
not a
him.
sponsored video in any way, shape, or form.
Oh,
And
never
that's
mind.
the thing.
All
It's
right.
not just about the price. All right, I'll spend a lot of money on things if I feel like the quality is there. The problem is,
bro,
that
this guy
these
is
things and these
he's showing
brands
off
that I'm
his
gonna talk
whole
about,
six-pack
the
going
quality
on.
is just not
He's
there,
got
but
the
price
money to
stayed
blow
where it
on
was,
clothes.
All right, this is the next one. All right, Ted Baker. I got this jacket
No
8
wedding
years
ring,
ago, and
no
it
wedding
was
ring, and he's already got
amazing,
gray hair.
right?
I'm
It
just
still
saying.
is.
Just saying.
Incredible quality, incredible
Not throwing shade.
craftsmanship, great fit, great detail. But now, Ted Baker, it absolutely sucks. And then I did a
Ted
little digging,
Baker?
a little scratching beneath the surface, and I found out that in 2020, 2 or 23, they basically sold, and now they just do licensing. So you know who makes Ted Baker shoes?
No.
Aldo. You know how great Aldo shoes are? Exactly. Zero great. They suck. Next thing that sucks, and I'm pissed. Manscaped products. And here's the deal. Yes, it serves a purpose, but I basically know how much this shit costs to get made, and what they're charging for the quality, it's absolutely ridiculous. They are getting rich, and you are getting screwed, in my opinion.
What's wrong with
Next
Manscaped?
up,
I have
Tom
a
Ford.
razor from
Tom
Manscaped. It
Ford
works great.
glasses, Tom Ford clothing. Again, the price, up here. The quality
Like
is
$30. It's
good,
not like it was that
not
expensive.
great. All right, something else is Ray-Bans, since we're talking about sunglasses.
I have Ray-Bans too.
Ray-Ban quality isn't that great. The price is not super premium, but it's also not super cheap. I know what it costs to make sunglasses, and a pair of Ray-Bans probably cost them $17 to $15.
Okay. You're not does someone need to explain to him branding? Like, you can go buy a pair of sunglasses at a gas station for 99 cents. Yeah, we know it's plastic. You're not buying the craftsmanship. You're buying the name and the look. Am I crazy? This guy's on something.
Because of the scale, it might be even cheaper than that, and the quality just isn't there. Next up is Yeti. All right, Yeti does a great job of...
He's going after water bottles now, dude. Dude, this guy's just letting it all out. He's gone from t-shirts to sunglasses to water bottles.
Making you think that their canteens and water bottles are worth $50, $60, $70, $40, like whatever.
We know it's not worth that. Does anyone... Oh, gosh. Whoops. We know it's not worth that. Does anyone think Yeti's worth 60 bucks?
Because of the scale, it might be even cheaper than that, and the quality just isn't there. Next up is Yeti. All right, Yeti does a great job of making you think that their canteens and water bottles are worth $50, $60, $70, $40, like whatever. It's not. All right, this is one that I recently got and I absolutely love. It's called Mana. It was like 20 bucks. Works just as well. The next thing is fragrances. All right, premium fragrances, you are getting robbed. 15 bucks. I would go out on a limb and say that this bottle of Creed Aventus that retails for $500 cost them $15, including...
I do agree with the cologne thing. I think if you spend more than $100 on a cologne or a fragrance, something's like, you're getting got. You're just getting got, I think, personally. But, like, you can go to the Macy's, any store, and just get, like, a nice $50 to $60 bottle of, Polo. It smells great. $500 for cologne? That is crazy.
The packaging. When it comes to fragrance, the package is the most important and expensive part of the process. The stuff that's in there, it is oils, it is alcohol, and it is not worth $500. When I decided to actually develop a fragrance, I got quite the
he has his own?
in terms of what the industry is basically doing, and that is robbing people, honestly.
Dude, this guy's just selling
that's
stuff.
why I was so excited to create Rebel, guys. It's not a copy or clone of Creed Aventus, but it is heavily, heavily, heavily inspired. If you want to get a ton of compliments and you don't want to spend $500 for a bottle, I've got a link down below to Rebel.
I thought he said none of the stuff was sponsored earlier.
For $30. You're also going to get a travel refillable sprayer, the way that it works, which is super awesome.
This guy's making
just
so
pop
much
that
money.
top
You know,
off, and
people
then on
are
the
just
bottom
buying
of the
this.
refillable sprayer, you're just simply going to place it on top and pump that bad boy up. And what
Pump
you're
it up,
actually doing
baby.
is filling
Pump that
up
bad
this
boy
little
up.
reservoir inside, all right? And then when you're ready to use it, all you do, pop off the top and give yourself the business. Guys,
Give yourself the
$30
business,
right now,
baby.
limited time if you want to grab
I love this
deal.
guy.
But if you already have Rebel, we also have the same deal with Icon, which is inspired by...
Bro, he just talked about how he wasn't going to be
another
sponsored
Creed
until
fragrance
now.
that we were heavily inspired by, that literally is like dead on in terms of an inspiration fragrance. It's fresh, it's light, it's perfect for the summer, and you're going to get a ton of compliments, all right? Next,
I'm all about the
you're not gonna get
compliments, baby.
on,
That's why I
that
put on
link is
some
down
fragrance.
below,
I want some
is
compliments.
Your Hugo Boss suit. Hugo Boss used to be synonymous with high quality, sexy styles.
Sexy style.
Yes, it was a little bit more expensive, but it was there in terms of the premium fit, feel, the fabric, the construction. It was all good until it wasn't. And then it got really bad. Something else that got bad was Lacoste. And here's the deal. Lacoste in terms of quality
Is Lacoste
isn't
the alligator?
horrible, but what you're paying for is that little embroidered like alligator. All right, the fabric is literally like a peak cotton, like you're
Dude,
gonna
this
get
guy's
at Old
like,
Navy for a polo.
he's explaining
except you're gonna
like
spend 80,
all
90,
basic
$100.
marketing
And
since
personally,
like
I feel
the
like they are
1920s.
absolutely taking you to the cleaners. All right, something else that
You guys want
probably
quality?
shouldn't take
I'll
to
tell
the
you quality,
cleaners
right?
is anything
This T-shirt
polo.
is from a
All right.
company called
Ralph
Comfort
Lauren
Colors.
has
It's
a bunch of different,
$15
like,
on
lines,
Amazon,
right? They've got
and it's the best
RL,
T-shirt
all right,
ever.
I think I actually have
It's just a cloth
this right
T-shirt,
here, the sweater.
cotton, 100%
All
cotton.
right.
It's kind of
It's got a
thicker
label,
than like a
RL.
normal T-shirt. 15
This
bucks.
sweater is really nice. Ralph Lauren
15
has
bucks.
different
And it
tiers,
even has a
right?
little
At the
pocket.
top is RL, and then you've got,
pocket.
you know, Ralph Lauren. I think it's like Purple Line and like everything down to like Polo. And the truth is that
Hold up, though. Hold up. I firmly believe this, though. I have a few Ralph Lauren cotton polos, just like the basic polo with a little horse on them. those shirts last longer and look better than anything else I've ever owned. It's like, I still think the quality of the Ralph Lauren polo holds up. It holds up. It's a good it's a good shirt. Just one little logo, very basic. I'm never gonna. You're never gonna hear me talk bad about the Ralph Lauren polo. Ooh. Oh, it's not for me.
Every level is kind of geared towards a different like demographic and price point. But all of the price points are high, and all of the quality, even though like some of the higher end is good, it's not worth it in my opinion. Something else that's never worth it is Louis Vuitton. All right, Louis Vuitton is nothing more than
Louis Vuitton
canvas wrapped in
Louis
plastic.
Vuitton.
It's not
Walk a
even
mile
leather.
in Louis
And that's the
Vuitton.
thing. You're caught up in the hype. You're caught up in the brand.
What is Louis Vuitton? What is it?
People
Is it just
think,
designer
oh, it's
brand,
super
or is it
premium.
something? Is it shoes?
It's a shit product, in my opinion. For the price, it is definitely like not even in the stratosphere of reasonable. It's ridiculous. Zara. Whoa.
I don't even know how
You
to
want to
spell
talk
it.
about getting screwed with a capital
French
screw?
luxury fashion house.
Zara. All right. It's fast fashion at its finest, or I should say worst, but the price is actually expensive. If you're going to go fast fashion, H&M, they're not trying to fool anybody, right? You know that you're getting a shit product, but you're not mad about it because
$1,200 for shoes.
But something else that I've noticed is that the H&M quality over time has dropped. It used to be, I would say probably like 7-8 years ago, H&M clothing for the price you're paying was pretty
Louis Vuitton is
decent. And I had some
$1,200.
stuff, like tank tops and some shirts, my denim jacket, that lasted me years that I still wear to this day. But a lot of the stuff that I've gone and I looked at recently, it's literally like throwaway clothing. You wear it once, twice, 3 times, you dry it a few times, and it's destroyed. Pretty much any shoe you're gonna find at a place like DSW or a department store. These shoes these days, in terms of the quality, is so bad. It is so bad for what you're actually getting. The price isn't super inexpensive, but the quality
You know what
is
shoes
just
I like?
terrible. I remember being able to go into like a
Hey, dudes.
DSW or a Macy's and
60
find like
bucks
some really great shoes
at
that
Academy
were
Sports
built
and
well.
Outdoors.
You know, it wasn't crazy expensive.
Academy
Now,
Sports
it's
and
all the same
Outdoors.
price, but the quality is absolute dog shit. Top man.
Dude, this guy.
Terrible. All right, I'm just saying. I don't think it's good at all. Calvin Klein, another one. It used to be.
I have a
premium.
Calvin
It used to
Klein
be
suit.
Like,
I
oh,
like
my
it.
Calvin Klein, like
It was like
underwear.
300,
Now,
400 bucks, I think.
it's
Not
just
like not cheap, but
One
not
of the reasons
not
why I'm so
crazy.
sensitive
I mean,
to
for a
this is,
good
like,
suit.
Pete and Pedro, right? Our costs have been going up year after year. Every year there's an increase.
think it's a good suit.
You know, 5% this year, 20% the year before, like depending on
Also,
you know, whether or not
I
it's
came into this-
packaging or raw ingredients.
Pause this. I came into this dungeon. This is my first hardcore dungeon. Like kind of scared and apprehensive, and I'm already watching YouTube videos and not paying attention. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I should be way more locked in than I am. But I don't care.
Or shipping, like our costs have like skyrocketed. But I've been so reluctant to actually raise the price because I just don't want to do what everybody else is doing. And so even though I am making less money, I feel like I am offering a great product at a good price. And so I have always resisted raising prices whenever possible. All right, so those are just some of mine. I want to know though, what is
Bro, I low key. Is this crazy? I want to like learn how to make my own clothes. Is that weird? Is that weird that I want to do that? Like learn how to make my own clothes? Like go buy some fabric and make a nice like just t-shirt or even a jacket, maybe some trousers. Just make your own clothes. How cool would that be? People are like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" I made it. Why are these guys so much faster than me? Wouldn't that be dope? I made this. I don't know.
a brand, it doesn't matter if it's clothing or grooming or tech or whatever, that you feel you are absolutely getting robbed if you buy it, all right? A few that I don't. I feel like these products or brands are absolutely worth the money. Pete and Pedro, T. Shanley, just getting it out there, they are. High quality, premium product, great price, all right? Suit Supply, another one. They really invest in high quality garments, great fabric, good construction. I feel like they're amazing. Also, all right, my boys over at Collars & Co.
Oh.
Another one.
I do
They
have a couple
crush
Collars
it.
& Co.
Their
shirts.
polos, their
They're pretty
knits,
great.
Their products, crazy premium. The price isn't like zero or
Yeah,
like
the price
super
is
cheap like you're
expensive,
gonna
though. They're
find
not
at, like,
cheap.
You know, like Target. but the quality is there and the fabric is there, and that's the whole thing. When you buy and invest in a premium item, it's going to last you a long time, or it should. If it
Only problem with Collars & Co., the whole point of the Collars & Co. is the collar is like plastic, like it's very firm. And if you put that in the wash on high heat or something like that, it can warp the collar. So that's the only problem with the Collars & Co. shirts.
it doesn't, there's a problem. And I feel like Collars & Co. really absolutely crushes it. They're doing an incredible job, but it's not the cheapest stuff. Also, another brand that I really love right now until he sells out, which I'm sure he's going to sell out, is a brand called Todd Snyder. Really impressed with the quality, really impressed in the styling, the fabric, and the construction of their clothing. I bought a few things. I bought denim that I really love. I bought sweaters that I think are great, and some pullovers. Also premium in my opinion. Something else. They've been in the news lately.
I figured it would be an easy out.
I truly feel like Lululemon does a great job.
Lululemon?
Anyway, if you'd be so kind as to help me get out of here,
That's like the most overpriced athletic wear ever. What are we talking about? He's talking about value and getting scammed. That's a scam. Lululemon? I swear, dude, you go to Academy and just get some polyester shorts and a t-shirt. You're working out. I have a pair of Nike soccer shorts from 2008 that has a drawstring. The elastic is completely shot, but all you have to do is tie the little string off, and you got some workout shorts. I think they cost me $13 in 2008, and I still have them back there. Get out of here with the workout clothes.
In terms of the quality of their garments, even though they're not cheap, it lasts literally like for years. I have like 5 pairs of these like black joggers from Lululemon. They still look as good as the day that I got them. I wash them, I dry them, I wear them like all the time, and they still hold up. Their t-shirts also, they don't stretch out, they don't get like all pitted out. They're really high quality. Now I know.
Yeah, just get this. Just get this. Just get a Comfort Colors cotton t-shirt. You can wear this to the gym. Guaranteed you can wear it to the gym. And guess what? If it gets raggedy or torn, it's $15. Just buy another one.
That they've got like some like funky possible, ingredients, like something like Forever Chemicals, but maybe.
Yeah, and then he's talking about Forever Chemicals, 100% cotton. 100% cotton. Just get a cotton t-shirt from Comfort Colors. You don't even need to get the pocket square. And get like a black one. And you won't have stains. It'll be your workout shirt for forever.
That's why they last literally forever. And if that's the reason, well, then I'm not mad at them. Rolex, my boys over at Rolex. I love them, period. I think the quality is amazing. The price, I think it's expensive, but you get what you pay for. They're not cutting.
No, you do not get what you pay for at Rolex. Are you kidding me? You're buying the brand. This guy's on something. You just go buy a Seiko. Hell, this tells time better than the Rolex. What are we talking about? I have an Omega Speedmaster. Overpriced. Not worth it. I like it. If someone was like, oh, is that Speedmaster worth it? I'd be like, no, 100% not. Not worth it. I like it, and it's cool, and it's quality, and it's like, a brand, and it says something, right? It has value. It's not worth it. This is it's luxury to the tens. Like, it's not worth it. Luxury is not, by definition, luxury isn't worth it, in my opinion. What are we talking about? Rolex.
Corners in terms of trying to make the watch cheaper so that they make more margin. And that really, at the end of the day, is what it's about. If you're going to raise your prices, make sure that the quality is still there. And I'm not mad at you for doing it. I understand. What I don't understand is when you do shit like All Saints. You basically totally reinvent the product that a customer has gotten used to consuming. And so when he gets the new one, it's like, okay, I'll never shop from you again. I have no idea if they've reduced the quality of the leather jackets, which I also used to love. But guess what? I'm not buying them anymore.
Okay. Fair enough. Hot guys do this. Low status, but low value never. Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth is the quintessential man behind the scene. Where Rick Dalton takes his value from popularity, Cliff takes his value from the quality of his friendship, his integrity, and the way he faces challenges, even if it's not wise to do so. Cliff is a man who isn't looking for recognition. He's more focused on standing up for himself, taking care of his dog, and being a good friend, which he is. He's supportive, a good listener, and that loyalty can be a rare
He also killed his wife. We're forgetting that part?
thing. That rarity is what makes this on-screen depiction of these two men's relationship a notable and significant observation of Cliff Booth's character. But this loyalty has conditions. You know what I'm talking about. It's never made clear in the film, but if it looks like a duck, then Cliff Booth definitely killed his wife. And we're going to get to this alpine divorce.
I'm glad he talked about that, because I was like, dude, I love Cliff Booth character. Not a role model. Not a role model.
But first, we're going to explore the stoic self-reliance of Cliff Booth, how low status can still translate into high value, and how Cliff turns the mundane into pure cinema.
You know how musicians are. They're temperamental cats. Who knows what got into them?
Yeah. Most of Cliff's time on screen is just him going about his day. He even makes a roof antenna repair exciting. It's interesting to watch. We're captivated because of how effortless it all is. This would typically be boring, but we find it engaging. It doesn't hurt that Brad Pitt is really handsome, but the deliberate choices...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's because he's good looking. Period.
in these little moments are what make Cliff so captivating. Underneath it all, this is pure action-oriented stoicism, controlling what he can, ignoring what he can't. Cliff
I do think being stoic is good. Being stoic plays. I do agree with that.
has the uncanny ability to remain cool, collected, and even effective, which is equally on display in high-stakes, physically dangerous situations. This is because he has adapted experience. He has a different definition of danger than most people. This shift shows up in sometimes not so subtle ways when interacting with others. When he hears Bruce Lee posturing, he feels compelled to challenge him. The challenge takes the wind out of Bruce's words. It brings practicality into the conversation, which sort of ruins Bruce's mystique.
We get into a fight, I accidentally kill you. I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
When they tussle, Cliff gets the upper hand and clearly wins the fight. This wasn't wise though, because it gained him nothing and instead got him fired. This is where low status, high value has a downside. If you're not indispensable, doing things that can get you exiled either professionally or socially only hurt you in the long run. This is why it's important to have friends, deep connections that are reinforced regularly. To get the full picture of Cliff's character, we need to look more closely at his relationship with Rick Dalton.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Strength, stamina, spirit.
This friendship is such an amazing contrast between these two men. While Cliff is cool, calm, and stress-free, but with low social value, Rick is high status, famous, but also a mess. He is so reliant on external validation that he is constantly questioning his self-worth. He's a movie star, he's wealthy, and all this status does nothing for his quality of life.
Nice.
Sure, he's comfortable, but the only thing that seems to push aside his misery, besides external validation of fame, is his relationship with Cliff. In contrast, Cliff lives behind an abandoned movie theater. He has no fame or fortune, yet he wants for nothing. Similar to Rick, their friendship makes his life better. He drives Rick's car and relies on him for work as a stuntman. Without Rick, Cliff's life would be much harder. This mutual benefit is clear, but that's not why these two men are friends.
Okay.
They genuinely enjoy each other. There is something transformative that happens over time when you can rely on someone, when they're there for you, and when you know they have your back. It transforms your world and theirs. Some would call this brotherhood, and it's a beautiful thing. They show up every day simply because they want to, and that is everything. If they didn't have each other, they would be fine, but even though they don't need each other, their lives are better together. This is one of the healthiest friendships depicted on screen, full of support and love, but it is still unequal. Rick has the higher status, but underneath it all, his value is lower because he is less self-reliant. It's here where Cliff shines. His self-reliance allows him to not just be a good friend, but approach dangerous situations with
okay, like, there's a difference between conflating self-reliance and apathy towards life. Right? He plays like he has nothing to lose because he has nothing to lose. I'm just, like, this analysis is interesting because, yeah, there is a value in being stoic and, like, having a nonchalant attitude, but if you don't care about anything, you have nothing. That's why he has nothing, because he doesn't care about anything. Like, you're supposed to care about life. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
The calm, cool, and unique perspective. Rick is no slouch, he knows how to dish it out too, but the way Cliff handles things makes it clear he's a man of experience and the one you can count on to get the job done. This comes through, of course, at the end of the film when he's dealing with those looking to do the devil's business.
You are real, right?
I'm as real as a donut.
Staring down the barrel of a gun does not faze Cliff Booth. At the start of this encounter, he's not worried about the danger. He's trying to remember where he saw these people last. Sure, he's a little lost in the sauce, but this only exaggerates his calm and deliberate temperament. Their attempts to intimidate fall flat because Cliff already knows what to do, and he can do it anytime. Put simply, he understands the room, specifically what the threats are and what he can do to neutralize them. This man is dangerous with just his dog and a can of food. Anyone else would see this scenario as unpredictable, but Cliff isn't worried about those details. Those details matter, of course. He gets injured in the fight, but to Cliff, it's fine. His threshold for violence and pain is much larger than most people's, which is why this mayhem to Cliff is just like repairing an antenna. This makes him very dangerous, specifically because his problem solving is vicious. These are terrible things, but they are justifiable in this moment because he was attacked and is defending himself. But his ability to go from a quiet evening to this much brutality makes him a completely different kind of person. It's here where you have to be careful. We need guardrails against violent behavior so we don't become the villain ourselves. Cliff doesn't have those guardrails, which is why he no longer has a wife. At one point, he made a commitment to this person, but then that loyalty shifted somewhere. There are much less violent solutions to separate, but because of the way Cliff thinks, murder was an okay option. The very thing that makes him a force to be reckoned with leads him to a decision that seems almost impulsive and is also just really terrible. We are speculating here, but it's possible Cliff had an experience coined the Alpine divorce, which I mentioned earlier. This term refers to a situation where a person takes their partner on a hike, a wilderness excursion, like a boat, only to abandon, sabotage, or orchestrate their death, often to escape the relationship. Altogether, it makes Cliff a very complex character, who despite his capacity for murder and violence, he is still well liked. So what can we take away from this example? Or rather, what good can we take away while leaving behind the bad?
Gonna blow your mind, man.
Cliff shows us that true value isn't about chasing external validation or popular opinion. His value comes from the quality of his friendship and his unwavering ability to face challenges head on. This kind of self-generated value makes you indispensable because it's built on a foundation of genuine reliability, not fleeting fame. Cliff also teaches us that deep, mutually beneficial connections make life better. Rick and Cliff's brotherhood, full of support and genuine enjoyment, proves that strong...
Yeah, have friends. Got it. Okay. Did AI write that? That felt like an AI video. The philosophy of Batman. I don't know if I'll be that guy. Dude, I kind of want this guy's just walking around New York. Can you make this a little bigger? Just follow this guy around New York City for a minute. Just a small observation about New York in like this. Look at everyone's faces. I don't know, maybe I'm just a small town kid, but like no one is smiling. Or like, hi. I guess you would get exhausted if you smiled at everyone you walked because there's so many people. But then what's the point in being around people? Just look at that girl's face. Oh, that's funny. Man, I don't think you could pay me enough to live there. It's just a zoo of people. Look at this. I'm just gonna say this too, like, we need to bring leather bags back. Like, all these guys in their suits, they have like a backpack like I had when I was in high school. Like, what we need to bring like the briefcase, leather bag back. This nylon tactical backpack while wearing a suit, just, it's not doing it for me. There's so many people. I mean, the buildings look cool. I'm not gonna lie, like, when you think of New York, you just think of dirty and, like, you know, like a lot of homeless people. That's what I think of. But everyone's in suits and, you know, everyone's going to work. The area looks really clean. Like, everyone's wearing business attire. It's like it does look very clean. I want to do one of these videos and people walk around like Tokyo or something, or like someplace in Japan. And this Zeppelin's taking forever. Getting dizzy. He's taking too many turns.
you. Let me know.
Oh, the JP Morgan Chase building. So he's got to be in the financial district. What building is that? The clock. The Hemsley building? Is it like a library or something? What is that? The Hemsley building. What is the Hemsley building in New York City? It was bought by Goldman Sachs? Huh. It's Goldman Sachs owns it. West Helmsley. Sorry, I was saying it wrong. Helmsley. Oh, there's a homeless person. We got one. Oh, he can zoom in too? This guy's got it going, baby. We gotta find the bow trainer. Alright, I'm getting a little dizzy. He's turning around too much. But I'm digging this vibe. Did we crash YouTube? I think we crashed it. Oh yeah. This is more what I would like to be. If I had to walk everywhere, this is where I'd prefer to be. We gotta find the bow trainer in this area. This guy.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a weapon master.
Look for Sayak and Hanashi at the Valley of Honor inside Arms of Legend. Watch your tongue around them, or Sayak may decide to give a piece of you as a snack to Grinning Dog.
I like this walkthrough because at least people are talking. In the New York one, everyone's just like dead silent zombies walking around. Everyone in this video is like talking. There's like, you can hear people laughing, chatting. I've seen people smiling. There's kids. Like.
Here to learn how to wield a new weapon or just to waste my time?
Can I just equip it immediately? Nice. Oh, nice. I can equip a new dagger. Am I level 29? Oh, that's huge. Just gonna buy 2 of them.
Strength.
Big.
Can't you see I'm busy? No time.
Alright, I gotta go to the bathroom. Be right back.
Huh?
Alright, I'm back. Where to learn sword training in classic World of Warcraft on Horde?
Weapon trainers are located in capital cities, with at least one in each faction's capital city.
Oh, the swords is Undead area. 38 minutes. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Hail, adventurer. What are you? Stay away from Suman to me. Spoken for.
Also, I need to find ammo for my bow so I can start training my bow skill. Where do I get that at?
What are you looking for? Be safe.
Where do I get ammo for the bow? Alright. I'm not really feeling these. She is running. That girl's jogging. I want something more dialogue. Should women vote? God. Goodness gracious. Texas, the Independent State 4K travel documentary. I live in Texas. I grew up here, born in Dallas. I cannot wait to see this.
Texas is not simply another American state. It entered the United States with a history of independence.
That's right. That's right.
The single star on its flag originates from the Republic of Texas.
That's right, baby.
A country that existed on the world map from 1836 to 1845. Geographically, the state plays in its own league.
Yeah, we do, baby. This guy's just gassing
At
up
more
Texas.
than 268,000 square miles, it is by far the largest in the contiguous United States. Yet Texas is leading not only in size, its economy ranks second in the United States, surpassed only by California.
California.
The discovery of oil in the early 20th century transformed the state from largely rural to industrial. But Texas today is equally defined by high technology.
That's Dallas.
And even
yeah,
hosts
Houston.
the world's most modern spaceport.
NASA spaceport. A spaceport.
The immense size allows for an unusual concentration of landscapes within a single political boundary. Central Texas hosts large metropolitan areas, while the east turns humid and green, with swamps that feel closer to the deep south.
That's right.
In the west, deserts and mountain ranges define the edges of the Chihuahuan Desert, cut by deep canyons.
Been there? Been to, I can't remember what national park we were in, but we were in the highest point in Texas. I feel like it's Yosemite? No, it can't be that. Why can't I think of the name of that place?
At the far southern edge of Texas, the Rio Grande forms a natural boundary between the United States and Mexico. Here, Big Bend National Park protects 3 distinct ecosystems that collide in a single landscape. It is vast by any measure, over 800,000 acres, making it one of the largest protected areas in the continental US. and also one of the least visited.
Yeah, there's nothing in Big Bend. That's it. It's nice, but that's it.
Along the river lies the Rio Grande Riparian Corridor, a green ribbon of cottonwoods, willows, and cane.
Cane? Yep, that's Texas.
To the north and east stretches the Chihuahuan
Midland.
Desert, dominated by an exceptional diversity of cacti. Above this arid floor, the Chisos Mountains form a cool, forested island.
Texas
Their
really is
highest point
beautiful.
reaches nearly a mile above the Rio Grande.
I've been there. Hiked that. I have been to the highest point in Texas.
Further west, limestone walls of Santa Elena Canyon rise nearly 1,500 feet straight from the river.
I've actually been in that canyon too. That was pretty cool. Yep, I've been on that. Not that exact
A short
trail, but I've
trail
been there.
descends to the canyon floor where echoes bounce off stone and the Rio Grande moves slowly.
Fun fact, it kind of stinks down there. A lot of animals get trapped down
From
there and
Big
they die.
Bend, we follow the river upstream to El Paso, a border city in the most literal sense.
El Paso has a lot of crime. Very, very high crime.
Together with Ciudad Juarez on the Mexican side, it forms one of the largest binational metropolitan areas in the Western Hemisphere.
I would not want to live in El Paso.
For nearly 200 years, the settlement functioned as a unified community. That changed in the 19th century. After Texas won independence from Mexico in 1836, the region became contested ground. Until the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848 fixed the Rio Grande as the international boundary. What had been one town became two. Once wide and unpredictable, the river through El Paso is now largely controlled, straightened by concrete walls. International bridges cross it busy with shoppers and families whose lives span both sides of the border. Despite its reputation, El Paso is consistently ranked among the safest large cities in the United States.
Despite its reputation. No. Nope. Never living there. Safest place, my
Where
butt.
streets end,
Yeah, right.
pavement gives way to rock.
Yeah, right.
And El Paso runs straight into the Franklin Mountains.
So, adventurer, you have come. Now, are you prepared to journey?
This is one of the rare places in the United States where a major mountain range splits an urban area in two.
At times we hunt for honor, and at times we hunt to earn the
The Franklin Mountains are among the oldest exposed mountain ranges in North America, with rocks dating back more than 1.2 billion years.
The hyena steel snap.
What you see here is not the jagged drama of younger ranges, but something more stripped down and elemental.
Fear and bloodshed among more peaceful beasts. Find Steel Snap, adventurer. Find him and defeat him.
Their modern form comes from basin and range uplift. The same tectonic forces that shape much of the American Southwest. Protected within Franklin Mountain State Park, the range stretches roughly 23 miles north to south. Elevation climbs quickly from the desert floor to North Franklin Mountain, the range's highest point at over 7,000 feet. At night, city lights pool at the base of the mountains, while the peaks
Is he
remain
still talking about El
dark,
Paso?
still untouched and wild.
This is a long time spent on El Paso. That's like a drive-through city. No one goes to El Paso.
The Monaghan's Sandhills landscape feels out of place until you understand that it is doing exactly what it has always done. The state park protects roughly 3,800 acres of active dunes, part of a much larger sand sheet that once covered vast portions of the Permian Basin. Their forms are constantly reshaped by prevailing winds, advancing, retreating, and reorganizing grain by grain. Some dunes here rise more than 70 feet above the surrounding flats. Their crests sharp, their slopes soft and unstable underfoot.
Sand sledding sounds kind of fun. You get so dirty though.
Unlike the Sahara-style deserts people imagine, these sands owe their existence to water as much as wind. During wetter periods thousands of years ago, sediments were deposited by rivers and shallow lakes. As the climate dried, vegetation retreated and wind took over. Even now, grasses and mesquite attempt to anchor the dunes, while bare sand continues its slow migration. Around the sandhills, endless fields of pumpjacks stretch in every direction.
Yeah, we're in the Permian Basin.
When black gold was discovered in commercial quantities in 1901, the strike triggered one of the largest oil booms in history. As early fields declined, exploration moved deeper into the interior until it reached the vast subsurface reserves of West Texas. The Permian Basin spans roughly 75,000 square miles and contains multiple productive formations stacked vertically.
That's a cool shot.
Layer upon layer of oil and gas-bearing rock.
I just realized that
today, the area produces nearly
color
half of all
looks the
U.S.
same as where I'm
crude
at now
oil.
in the game.
Making it one of the most important energy regions in the world.
What brings you here? Hello.
Thousands of well pads, pump jacks nodding in unison, pipelines running parallel to highways, and flare stacks burning off excess gas. The work never stops. Oil here is extracted continuously, measured in barrels per day, priced by
Nice.
global
Maybe you can give me
markets,
some.
and shipped far beyond the desert. North of the Permian Basin, Palo Duro Canyon opens beneath the Texas Panhandle like a geological ambush. Often called the Grand
I guess you
Canyon of
can't equip a
Texas,
quiver as
it
a
is the second
road.
largest canyon system in the United States.
Where would you like to fly to?
What? I gotta go back.
Stretching
Boom,
more
boom.
than 120 miles long, up to 20 miles wide, and plunging nearly 800 feet at its deepest points. What makes Palo Duro distinctive is not just scale, but color. Red beds, white gypsum, rust-colored sandstone, and ancient volcanic ash layers stack visibly along the canyon walls.
That's cool, man. I bet it'd be fun to fly over these in a helicopter. How high over the ground
Spanish
were
for
you?
hard stick, refers to the tough juniper wood early explorers
pretty
found
low?
in the area.
That's cool.
Rising from the canyon floor is its most recognizable landmark, Lighthouse Rock. This natural hoodoo stands approximately
I don't know how
300
people look
feet
at that
tall.
and don't think there was a worldwide flood. Like there's just you can tell that's
its
what
narrow
that was a
upper section
massive flood
balanced
that covered the world
improbably
that
atop
caused that.
a broader base. Sitting high on the Llano Estacado, Amarillo grew rapidly in the late 19th
Amarillo.
and early 20th centuries as railroads connected the Panhandle to national markets.
They have a really good donut place in Amarillo.
Cattle, grain, oil, and later helium shaped its economy.
Find a low way through the rocks.
In fact, the nearby cliffside gas field
be fun
once
to fly over
supplied
those in a
the
helicopter.
majority of the world's helium.
Helium? What?
But Amarillo is also inseparable from the road. Historic Route 66 runs straight through town,
Yep. Anytime we were driving to Colorado, we
bringing
drive
with it
through
a
Amarillo.
lingering sense of mid-century.
And we'd always stop and get donuts at this famous donut place. I can't remember the name of it though.
Just west of the city, along Interstate 40, one of Texas's strangest landmarks rises from a flat wheat field.
I've never heard of this.
Cadillac Ranch. Installed in 1974, the piece was conceived as a statement on American consumerism and automotive obsession.
That's why I haven't heard of it. Bunch of hippie nonsense. You have Route 66, one of the most popular highways in the
Unlike
world,
most
and they're like,
public
"Oh,
art,
cars are bad."
Cadillac Ranch is designed to be altered. Visitors are encouraged to spray paint the cars.
Yeah,
Layers of
pass.
graffiti build and peel away, creating a constantly changing record of names, slogans, symbols, and moods.
Ugly art, ugly idea. How can you hate on American cars? It's literally what we're known for.
East of Amarillo, Interstate 40 cuts straight through miles of open land before passing near Groom, a town of fewer than 600 residents.
What is this? I've never heard of
Here
this.
on the south side of the highway stands the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, completed in 1995.
Huh. Never been there either. That's a big cross, though.
Commissioned by local evangelist Steve Thomas, it was built to be unmistakable at highway speed.
Mission
At
accomplished.
its base is a small religious complex with a chapel and a walking path featuring bronze sculptures of the Stations of the Cross.
That was pretty cool. It's so out of place, though. Like,
Further east, along the same highway, the Leaning Tower of Britain was never meant to be seen, let alone remembered. In the mid-20th century, Ralph Britton hauled the massive structure from Leyfors to Groom.
yeah, it's
And
a
turned it
leaning
into a
water tower.
roadside lure for his truck shop.
Looks like it's about to fall over.
After repainting it with the words Britain, USA, he used a bulldozer to lift two of its legs off the ground, leaving them suspended.
That's
the
on
business
purpose?
thrived for years until disaster struck. Britain's truck stop was eventually destroyed in a fire, ending the commercial life of the site.
You're telling me he did that on purpose? Where's this? Is this Houston? No. Austin?
Few American cities wear their layered past
Arlington?
as visibly and as practically as San Antonio.
Oh, that's San Antonio. I've never been to San Antonio before.
The
But
city was
I'll tell
founded
you-
in
I'll tell you who has been
1718
to San
when Spanish
Antonio.
authorities...
What's his name? Charles Barkley? He doesn't like those women in San Antonio.
established Mission San Antonio de Valero. The settlement was part of Spain's effort to secure territory in northern New Spain and convert indigenous populations through a chain of missions. Mission San Antonio de Valero would later become known as the Alamo, the most recognized historical site in Texas.
I need to go to the Alamo at some point. I've never been. I'd love to see it.
In 1836, during the Texas Revolution, the former mission was fortified by Texan forces resisting the Mexican
Davy
government.
Crockett. William Booth. Not William Booth.
Militarily, the battle was a
William Booth?
defeat. Symbolically,
James
it proved
Booth.
decisive, as remember the
Can't remember.
Alamo
One of them
became a
assassinated
rallying
Lincoln.
cry.
The other one was
If
a
you
part
are
of the
looking
Alamo.
for something to do, then you've come to the right place. I'm always looking for able-bodied individuals.
The
to help
Riverwalk
bring
is a
glory
completely
to the
different
Horde.
expression of
Who are
San
the famous
Antonio's relationship
characters
with history
known
and water.
in the Alamo?
Thistlefur Village to our east blocks the way between
What
Davy
visitors see
Crockett,
today
Sam
began
Houston,
as a
James
response
Bowie,
to disaster.
William Travis. So Booth was not part of this. Bowie is who I'm probably thinking of.
In 1921,
Historical figure
a
named
major
Booth.
flood killed dozens of people and
John
inundated
Wilkes
downtown.
Booth assassinated the president. John Wilkes Booth.
You will be given compensation for this task.
To resolve the flooding problem, channels were lowered, adding floodgates and building pedestrian walkways below street level. Today, the Riverwalk includes more than 15 miles of connected walkways, linking downtown with cultural districts.
Vorsha the Lasher, the fiendish hydra that roams
Northeast
the
of San
seas.
Antonio,
She has
beneath
attacked
the
our
rolling
outposts
limestone of the
each time
Texas
unprovoked,
Hill Country,
laying
the
waste to
landscape
anything that
opens
falls in her
downward.
path. But I am ready, adventurer. I have
I've been
prepared
there
to best
before.
the hydra and end these
Those
Natural
caverns are
Bridge
cool.
Caverns, the largest known commercial cave system in Texas, were discovered in 1960 by 4 local college
I
students.
believe that if we put it out, Vorsha will appear in anger. We will need help.
What they found was an extensive underground system formed over millions of years as groundwater slowly dissolved layers of limestone.
Stalactites and stalagmites, baby.
The caverns extend for more than 10,000 feet of mapped passages, with new sections still being studied.
Why are we so obsessed with caverns? Like, I think it looks cool, they're neat, but like, why? Why? It's just a cave. Like, why are we so obsessed with caverns as humans? What is that?
Unlike many caves in Texas, the formations here are exceptionally dense and well preserved.
Like, what are we preserving?
Some rise more than 60 feet high, while others are thin enough to snap if touched. The caverns maintain a nearly constant temperature of around 70 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Humidity is high and lighting is carefully designed to minimize algae growth and protect the cave environment. At the far southern edge of Texas, a small coastal area is now known globally as the home of SpaceX's Starbase Launch Complex. The location was once quiet, almost to the point of absence. Boca Chica village consisted of a few dozen houses, surrounded by open coastal land.
Can you imagine
That
living there?
changed in
Like having your
2014
little like
when
paradise
SpaceX
on the
announced
coast,
plans
and then
to
all
build
of a sudden
a
you got
private
rockets
launch
going
site
off
here.
in your next door neighbor's yard.
Unlike Cape Canaveral or Vandenberg, which are long-established federal facilities, Boca Chica is an industrial test site designed for rapid iteration. Prototypes are built outdoors, transported short distances, tested, destroyed, redesigned, and rebuilt again.
Sounds like there's a better way to do
The
that.
facility is dedicated primarily to Starship. A fully reusable stainless steel launch system. Created for missions intended to reach as far as Mars, it consists of 2 stages. The Super Heavy booster and the upper stage designed to carry crew or cargo. When stacked, the vehicle stands over 400 feet tall.
It must make it more pointy. Where am I going?
Making it the largest and most powerful rocket ever flown.
I like the way he says rocket. Rocket. It's a rocket. Look at it go. A rocket.
The coast of
There are
Texas
some
is
words
lined
that
with
they
narrow
nail.
barrier
I know where I'm
islands.
going. There are some words that some accents nail, like rocket.
Long
We say
ribbons of sand
rocket.
formed
It's
by the
a
interaction of
rocket.
waves.
Rocket. Look at the rocket.
One of the most distinctive is South Padre Island.
I've been streaming for like 2.5 hours. I'm gonna go Padre Island, baby.
Stretching roughly 34 miles, it lies between the open Gulf.
I'm gonna go ride the bike for 30 minutes and work out and just kind of maybe go. Actually, I kind of want to go get some blueberries. I'm just craving some blueberries. I don't know why. And then I think I'm gonna play some Marvel Rivals. I'm gonna stream that. Get some ranked Marvel Rivals in. That was fun. Thank you for watching these silly videos with me, whoever's still here. How long have we been streaming? We've been streaming for 2 hours and 25 minutes. Successful. It's been a while. I've been so busy lately. But I'm trying to do it more regularly.